on his own timetable and whenever he feels it's appropriate.
Dan, we need a reality check. Should teams who might be hoping to get Deshaun Watson start preparing for the idea that he will not be moved?
If you listen to the Houston Texans, then yes, obviously they're dug in, as is Deshaun Watson, on the idea of not playing for them again. So the reason you have to prepare for it is it might not happen as quickly as you want, right? If Houston really wants to call his bluff, wants to play hardball, they don't have to trade him before the draft. They could wait. Now, it makes economic sense for them to wait until after June 1st to do it anyway. So by that point, if you've been waiting on Deshaun Watson and you don't have a contingency plan in place, you're in big trouble. So at this point, if you can't get the Texans to return your phone call, and free agency starting in 2 weeks and the draft in a little under 2 months, you have to at least be thinking about what plan B is in case you don't get him. And even if he does become available, they're not all going to get him. So whoever misses out on him will have to make those plans. So yeah, I would say yes. Teams would have to be thinking along those lines. Even if you hope you ultimately get to take that big swing on Deshaun Watson, you have to be able to address what you do if that doesn't work out.
So if they do hold on to him, at what point do they start losing value on Deshaun Watson?
I don't think you lose value. I mean, he's 25. He's coming off statistically kind of an historic season. I think at the time, whenever he does become available, there will be plenty of teams that are willing to offer a lot for him. I guess you could say if he sat out a season, do teams wonder about that? But he's not going to be 35 this time next year either. So if you go past the draft, that means you're getting the picks you'd be getting would be 2022 picks instead of 21 picks, and that sets back your rebuild by a year. But if you're Houston right now, are you expecting to be very good this year without Deshaun Watson anyway? Like you can kind of justify that. So I don't think they're worried about that.
Dan, what can you tell us about the latest in terms of the NFL trying to move things forward with the 17-game season?
Yeah, I think it's all but done. The CBA specifies that they have to do at least one new media rights deal before they can activate the 17-game season. So once these TV deals that have all been reported on and discussed at length are done, the league can just trigger the 17-game season for this year. The owners already voted in December on the format for the scheduling, how it would work, what's the extra game. You'd play a team in the other conference that finished in the same spot in the division that you did, whatever division your division is assigned to that year. And then they'd have all the AFC teams play at home one year, all the NFC teams play at home the next year. So they've got this all worked out, how the players are going to be paid, extra game check, etc. It's just a matter of getting those TV deals in place, and then they'll do it. So it'll be...
What? J.J. Watt to the Cardinals, $31 million over 2 years, $23 million guaranteed, and that is the biggest story in the NFL this morning. Before we jump into it, fellas, how's everything going? Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin, presented by Progressive Insurance.
It's good. I went to bed too early last night, though.
What's too early?
I probably was in the bed probably around 8:30.
When do you normally go to bed?
I'll probably go to bed around 11, 10, 11, 10, 30, 11.
So you're getting about 5 hours a night?
Man, I've been that's what I do, but I sleep all day, too. So I went to bed too early, and I was up at 1 a.m. So I've been up since 1 a.m.
Zubin, I met a fan of yours yesterday.
Who is this?
I went to Rutgers Hospital in order to get my leg checked out, my graft, because I have a graft in my left leg. And my doctor literally was like, man, Keyshawn's he's never wrong, huh? He's never wrong. And I feel like Zubin just always ties it all together. He's great. And I was like, look at that. Rutgers sticking up for Rutgers. I love that.
Jersey pride.
Yes.
Jersey pride. We'll take it. Plenty of pride here for the Cardinals because, Key, this was one of those where I think a lot of people are expecting, like you said, Buffalo, Cleveland, teams that appear to be near the Super Bowl, a guy that could maybe get them over the top. But you think the signing of Arizona, and by the way, I got to give J.J. Watt credit.
Don't tell anyone what I think.
Controlling the process. He announced his release. He announced his signing. But you think the signing with this particular team actually means maybe the market for JJ, which everybody thought was white hot, or red hot, I got now you're in the desert with the Red Sea, maybe the market wasn't as flush with teams as we may have thought.
Well, you got to think about these things, though, right? When you hear the report, first off, everybody wants to sign J.J. Watt. Oh, my God. Yes. At what price, though, right? Buffalo was all in on him. But Brandon Beam, general manager of the Buffalo Bills, was not going to spend $31 million with 23 of it guaranteed, which essentially for the Arizona Cardinals is a one-year deal at $23 million. But they were not going to do that. So when you start to look at it, you say, well, what was Green Bay? Did Green Bay, were they really interested, or did we try and tie it together because he's from the region? Or because Shaq Barrett and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be negotiating a long-term deal, and he may price himself out of what Tampa's willing to spend based on their finances and their cap issues and all the other guys that they want to sign. So let's pencil him in Tampa. And so when you start to look at it, it's like, okay, he went to Arizona. Why would you go to Arizona? Because if it was about winning that championship, Arizona's not quite there yet. They've got a lot of proving to do. I was on our ESPN affiliate out in Arizona yesterday with Gamble and his crew, and we were talking about the signing of J.J. Watt and where Arizona was at and how far they are away. And when you think about it, yes, defensively, the Heat certainly gives them what they can use as a pass rusher. They went out and got Terrell Suggs, who was a little bit older, obviously, and at the end of his career, they didn't get much out of that. But you got Chandler Jones on the other side, and this could potentially form a tandem as two of the better pass rushers that we've seen in the National Football League as a tandem. You think about guys like Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware, or you think about Dwight Freeney and Mathis when they were in Indianapolis. So, and I could go on and on and on with a list of guys in that play the defensive side of the ball and with pass rush specialists. But in the end, to your question, how many real suitors were out there for J.J. Watt?
That's me just picking my key. He got $23 million guaranteed.
Yeah,
it's definitely about the money. And here's what I laughed at this when I saw it the other day, because Ed Werder had a tweet that came out, and I'll read the tweet to you, Key, because this goes into your cute Kyler Murray conversation that we've been having all year long, right? That lets you know that J.J. Watt, in my opinion, signed for the money, which I'm not mad about.
Oh, no.
Get your money.
Yeah, I'm not
Get
mad
your
at
money.
his money.
But
I just thought he was chasing a ring.
Well, you know how sometimes that narrative can be spun, too, to try to make it look like, oh, well, it's about the bigger picture when we know it's really not, right? So Ed Werder says, I was told J.J. Watt's first criteria in choosing his team would be the quality of the quarterback. So this seems to be an endorsement of at K1, Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray's great in that system, Jay.
Great. I know.
He's fine in the system.
I understand. But I thought if you're trying to win the Super Bowl, if this is an endorsement of the quarterback, like, oh, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, but it lets you know that the market wasn't like that. It proves your point that this was about the money, and I'm glad it worked out. And if he wants to change this into an endorsement for Kyler Murray, awesome, but that's still in a pretty hard division, and there's still a long way for this team to go.
Look, they won 8 games last year, and they were a game away from potentially getting into the playoffs at the end of the season. What I would say is when you mention those other quarterbacks, you got to look at the defensive side of the ball. I don't know what Buffalo was willing to give him. I have no idea. I don't know if he even talked to Tampa or talked to Green Bay. I have no idea at all. But I could probably bet that those numbers were not even close to what Arizona was willing to do. This is a make-or-break year for Cliff Kingsbury in the desert. Let's be honest with ourselves, right? Steve Wilkes got fired after 2 wins. Cliff Kingsbury won 5, then won 8. He needs to take another giant step. He can't go backwards and be 6-10. He can't be 7-9. He can't be 8-8. He's got to take a giant step, which means that they're pushing all their chips to the middle of the deck. And this is also a pivotal year for Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's got to show that he's willing to take the next step in the National Football League. It's okay, so what? You make a Pro Bowl. All right, everybody makes Pro Bowls this day and age. You win 8 games. You're within a system that you've been running since high school. We all understand that. Now it's consistently beating the San Francisco 49ers, the Los Angeles Rams, and the Seattle Seahawks to take over that division. And if they could take that next step by adding J.J. Watt to it, then they win. And if not, it's a 1-year deal at $23 million because the new coaching staff that comes in there next year will certainly part ways with J.J. Watt and want to bring in and build it all over the way that they want to. Plus, it's the year where the Arizona Cardinals will have to make a decision after the season on picking up the 5th-year option of Kyler Murray. So you got all those sort of little subplots that's going on in the desert.
We're asking this morning, J.J. Watt signing with the Cardinals is fill in the blank. We normally play that at another time.